Why have the pages of this one book been well thumbed for generations? Why have the words found on those pages been put into practice by millions of souls? There was a time when our mothers and fathers learned the words from that book at the knees of their mothers and their fathers. They kept those words close and knew them by heart until they found those very words on their lips as they left this life. The very lordly language that once coursed through the veins of this country is now trampled at the feet of a nation. And what do we find as the result? So-called progressive secularism claim we see dazzling progress and new horizons in human advance. Let us look at this progress together, shall we? How often have we heard of glass ceilings supposedly being shattered, chains allegedly lifted from the long-oppressed female? And although it's true that we no longer hear taboo terms like the fairer sex, we've replaced such awful language with loose references to a female dog. Today's modern and progressive female has traded gentlemanly open doors and coats over rain puddles with base rap videos and vile, unthinkable pornography. Women at large have traded a world that maybe had a faint tint of misogynistic tendency for fatherless homes and female disrespect of every kind. Women were once treasured as something to honor, something to protect. In today's progressive paradise, the jaded single woman has a better chance of winning the lottery than finding a good single man to commit and marry them. Now we watch as scarlets and tramps fill the pages of tabloid magazines, vomiting on themselves, depicting Western, progressive femininity. We find all around us teenage girls who might be free from those horrible finishing schools. Today, instead, they lie down their innocence on the altar of youth. Today's modern teenage girl, she struggles endlessly with self-worth, self-esteem. Most search endlessly to fill the void of a father missing in domestic action. And we call this progress. Really. Let us turn our eyes to education. Here we find the literal definition of fail. On every level, public education circles the drain. Year after year, we watch as test scores plummet, as each new progressive idea, by way of educating our children, acts as gasoline on a raging fire. Things like respect for your elders and the corporal punishment that formed such respect in a youngster are now looked at as bones in a progressive museum. And yet when these terrible traditionalist ideas held sway, test scores were up. Reading levels skyrocketed. Schools were a place where children learned and didn't get shot. Why does private and homeschooling education increase every year? The answer is simple. Parents, especially traditional conservative parents, love their children and don't want them polishing the brass on the Titanic that public education has become. And what about government, as if this even needs to be said? Corruption, graft, lies, adultery abound within the walls of nearly every governing body in this country. Take the temperature of the constituency. There's no trust in our governance. Constitutional blindness is like a pandemic among our leaders. We just watch hopelessly as elected leader after elected leader seems more fitted to a prison cell than a congressional seat. Treasury is being plundered daily as this country gets a forced facelift by way of socialism. And the list of these Orwellian-like progressive victories goes on and on. The scattered family unit is under constant assault. Depression and mental illness is through the roof as millions cling to narcotics as a life raft. Child molestation, child abuse of every kind, and an utter disregard for innocence is commonplace today. Hollywood is filled with the worst kind of us, like a keyhole into Sodom and Gomorrah. Our entertainment at large is base, trite, recycled, and aimed at the lowest common denominator. Reality television backwashes itself into our living room, numbing us into complacency, because there's always somebody worse than us to mock. Economic opportunity, economic hope for the future is hemorrhaging from this nation. We lose our national sovereignty daily as foreign leaders buy us pennies on the dollar, and our treasonous leaders fall more and more beholden to the world's worst dictators, worst thugs. Our trustworthy watchdogs become a shameful embarrassment. One was likely to find more unbiased news in Soviet Russia than to turn on any of the alphabet soup channels in this country. Drugs and alcohol flood our streets, course through the veins of our children. Alcohol abuse fractures family, escapism, and mind alteration is this country's pastime, and we've begun to glorify it in our entertainment, in our homes, in our public discourse. Progress. Really? Our modern art and creativity is barely worthy of the name. What constitutes today's literature is little more than pool porn, which matters little when interest in the written word is all but extinct. Our secularists tell us to just throw newspaper on their progressive dog crap, ensuring us that it'll make the smell go away. It won't. To claim for even a moment that what we see all around us in every facet of life is progress is not merely wrong, It's straitjacket delusional. Instead of altering ourselves to fit the ideal, the progressives among us will continue to insist that we alter the ideal because it's easier. It has long been time to put the secularist regressives back in the playpen and allow the time-tested traditionalists among us to clean up their mess. We have one path back to greatness. We have one remedy for the symptoms that rot the bones of this nation from within. We must, as a culture and as a people, turn from our sin and repent. We must, with humble hearts, fall on our face and beg the God who guided this country for 2 millennia to return. Progress? Really? Take it to the bank.